Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, PR Tips for the Holidays. My name is Jill, and today presenting our webinar is Connie. She is our PR person here at Vertical Response, and she's going to take you through some great tips on things you can do for PR during the holidays. Just a couple things before we get started. First of all, this webinar will be about 40 to 45 minutes long. At the end, as usual, we will have time for Q&A. So if you do think of questions along the way, go ahead and type those into the box that you see in your GoToWebinar window, and we'll be happy to answer as many of those as we can at the end of the webinar. One of the questions we're asked every single time we have a webinar is this being recorded? And the answer is yes, we are recording this for you. So if you want to come back and take a look at this, we will have it available. It goes up on our resources page at our website, verticalresponse.com. If you just click on the resources tab, you'll be able to see the recorded webinars, and that should be up there next week. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Connie, and she's going to give us some great information.
Hello, I'm Connie. Good morning, good afternoon out there. I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday, hump day. So yeah, just
First day of the World Series day.
Oh, yes. Go Giants. So yeah, I am here to talk a little bit about public relations. I think this is the first webinar we've ever done.
I think it is, yeah.
PR, so kind of nervous, kind of exciting. Yes, PR tips for the holidays. I know it's only October, but it's time to be thinking about the end of the year and the holiday season. When you're talking about journalists, especially in PR is all about working with journalists, they are working on these this month, next month, and definitely in December. And if any of you guys out there aren't familiar, during the holidays we have a lot of gift guides that these media outlets are pushing and promoting. And gift guides, if you don't know, are those little cheat sheets that are full of gift ideas for specific types of people or budgets. So like you'll see in the newspaper or the magazine, gifts for dad, gifts for mom, gifts under $100, gifts under $5. And it's always a popular feature for media outlets to publish. But we also need to remember that it's not just Christmas that we're talking about. The holidays, we also have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah. All of those are all coming up in a few short weeks, so we really need to start thinking about that and pitching those for PR. So, next one. Next slide.
Hold on. Sometimes my PowerPoint freezes.
Little technical difficulties. Sorry about that.
There we go. Hold on. Let me put the screen back up. Okay, I just had to remind it was working still.
Yay, technology. So today's agenda, we're going to step back a little bit and talk about what is public relations, what is PR, and how does it help your business. Also going to talk about the difference between a press release versus a pitch. Then we're going to go straight into the anatomy of a holiday pitch and all the essentials you need for an effective holiday pitch. We will also go into some popular gift guide categories. These are categories that seem to pop up year over year over year, so these are things that you want to think about and talk about when you're pitching journalists. And probably the meatiest part, how to uncover those holiday PR opportunities. Where do you start? How do you find which newspapers, which websites are doing gift guides and who you reach out to? And finally, we'll close off with just some best practices on pitching the media, and these are things that you should be thinking about, not just for holiday pitching, but also just in general, your general PR outreach efforts. So, what is PR? A lot of people think out there that PR is Samantha Jones from Sex and the City. You know, a lot of partying, a lot of wining and dining, working with celebrities. Jill can attest that that is certainly not what I do here at Vertical Response.
If you did, I would try to invite myself along.
Yeah. I would be the most popular person in the company. So public relations is definitely not this. Here's a definition from the PRSA, that's the Public Relations Society of America. And they define PR as a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. Now that is a mouthful, and I don't even quite understand that, to be honest with you. So I tend to think of PR, and I think this is an easier way to think about it too, especially when you're talking about holiday PR, is just getting favorable visibility and to gain credibility for your company. It's just as easy as that. And the way you do this now is through the press. Typically, back in the day, it was offline. It was radio, TV, newspapers, magazines. But now more and more, it's online. So you're working with bloggers and websites, and also through social media as well for that one-on-one engagement. So what's the difference between PR and advertising? Well, with PR, the placement that you get is earned. You don't pay for anything. It's not like you go to a newspaper and you say, hey, I have $100, can you write a story about me? It doesn't work like that. A PR placement is vetted by journalists and experts. So these are guys who are objective. Their job is to find out what's newsworthy out there. They're not going to write a story about your company just because you ask them to. The PR placements have a lot more, I should say, credibility than advertising. In advertising, again, you pay for it. You pay for your TV spot. You pay for your billboard. You have complete control over your message. You can say what goes in there, what you want to leave out. It's all under your control. The bad part about advertising, or not the bad part, but the challenge is that it lacks objectivity. Your customers and your potential customers know that you're trying to sell them something, so they might not fully believe your message, especially if you've got stiff competition out there. So I'm just going to show you a quick example of the difference between a PR placement and an advertising placement. On the left side is a story. I'm like, left, right. On the left side is a story that was recently published in the San Francisco Business Times about a company called Indochino. You can see that it's written by a reporter for the San Francisco Business Times. It's a story. It's got a news hook. It's about a pop-up shop. On the right side is a Facebook ad that this company paid for to have placed on Facebook. So the copy there is something that the company decided to write, and it's from them. It's not from a journalist or anything like that. So I'm not saying that PR is better than advertising or advertising is better than PR. It's just two different communication channels, and ideally you would have both in place so that you can reinforce your message and so that customers can hear about you and talk about you from multiple places. Now, what's the difference between a press release and a pitch? People are thinking, oh, in PR, all you do is just write press releases all day and you send it out and then you get tons of placements just like that. I wish it was that easy. A press release is, I tend to think of press releases as more of a formal announcement. It's like big company news. You send it over a newswire, which goes to newsrooms across the country. You post it on your website, and it's a pretty formal thing. You also get some SEO benefits out of it because it's reposted online. If you have specific keywords tagged, you get a little search engine optimization out of it as well. Excuse me, I had to take a sip of water. Here is an example of a press release. So again, very formal headline. You've got a subhead, has a date line. There's a blurb in the beginning about vertical response and what we do, so it's very formal. And then on the right side, there's a link to past press releases as well. A pitch is a short email. It highlights top level, top tier information. The 5 W's is important, and if you don't know what the 5 W's are, it's the who, what, when, where, and why. A pitch is sent directly to a journalist, so you're not sending it over a wire or anything like that. You email it to the journalist's email address directly. And a pitch is really just a tease. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It's not, 2 pages long or 600 words. It's just to get the journalist interested in what you have to say. Now I'm going to actually go through a pretend pitch that I wrote here. Just so that you know all the different pieces of a pitch and how they all fit together. So you can see here, this is a screenshot of an email. We've got a subject line right there. It says, Holiday Gift Guide. Local letterpress printer offers affordable, eco-friendly stationery sets. So the subject line is basically, why am I emailing you? Why is this note important? For gift guides, you definitely want to say Holiday Gift Guide in the subject line. Otherwise, the reporter might not know, what this is all about. It might sound like an ad, and they'll just trash you right away without even opening your email. You can see here that I say, "Hi, Nina." It's very important in a pitch that you personalize it, so don't say, "Dear editor," "Dear sir, to whom this may concern."
Yeah, that's really warm and friendly.
I mean, it's just like in email marketing. You want to make it as personalized as possible so that they are more inclined to read the rest of your note. So here I say, "Hi, Nina. I noticed that your website published a holiday gift guide last year focused on locally produced items." You want to make this, you want the recipient to know that you've done your research, that you know that they've done this in the past maybe, or that they've had a particular category that they covered last year, and that this is why you're reaching out to them. And then also in the first paragraph, you should also identify who you are, your company, what you do, and again, why you're pitching. Then you want to go into why this person, this editor, should care. So I'm going to go into just 3 very short and brief bullet points about what I'm offering and why this would be appropriate for their gift guide. So this angle that I'm taking here is that I'm, one, here in San Francisco, so I'm local because I know that last year they produced a local category for their holiday guide, so I'm trying to slot myself into there right away. I also position myself as an eco-friendly letterpress shop. So these 3 bullet points will go into a little bit more detail about where I'm located and why I'm eco-friendly. And then the last paragraph should just be the basic details that you will find in any gift guide and that you know the journalist will need to know sooner or later if they're going to cover you. So obviously, how much does this cost and what you're going to get, where you can buy it. If you have anything special, like if your product can be sent to an editor to try out, you can call that out as well, so like samples or anything like that. And also, if you have a % off discount for their readers, you should definitely put that in here as well. That'll give them more reason to think about and consider you for their gift guide. So let's go into the gift guide a little bit more in detail. And we'll talk about how to get into them a little bit later, but these are just screenshots of gift guides that I've seen over the years that are super popular. To be honest, during the holidays, the gift guides are probably your best bet in terms of PR coverage. It's easy for the media to put together because it's just lots of visuals, just a little short blurb about the product and then pricing information. So it's less writing for them. It's less work for them. They don't actually have to do a whole ton of research. And obviously, readers are looking for that. Consumers are looking for that this time of year. They want to know what the latest and greatest are, and they are actively seeking for that information. So there's good news and bad news about gift guides right now. We're in the 3rd week of October, I think.
We are.
3rd week. Okay. So unfortunately, it's already too late for print magazines because, believe it or not, they put together their holiday gift guides in June. They have a 4 to 5 month lead time, and you're probably already getting their November, December issues right now. So it's too late for print magazines. But a lot of them have online versions that they update every 2 weeks, every month, or something like that. So just because Dwell magazine is already out doesn't mean that Dwell.com won't be accepting any gift guide pitches. So that's the bad news. The good news is local papers, again, online press, bloggers, TV news, they're compiling their gift guide lists now through early December. And actually, they'll be doing it up until the day before Christmas, I would say, because of all the last-minute shoppers out there. So these are your best opportunities for getting holiday coverage. I'm going to go through really quickly the 5 popular gift guide categories that I think are pretty that a lot of magazines, or not magazines, a lot of websites and so forth have every year. So when I'm going through this, I want you to think about whether or not your product or service fits under one of these categories, because if you do, you definitely want to call that out in your pitch. So the first one is budget friendly. So I mean, this was really, really, really popular during the recession. It's still popular now because people are always trying to find ways to save money, or they have a cap on how much they want to spend for their gift recipients. So if your product is affordable, if it's under 10 bucks, under 25 bucks, something like that, definitely call that out. Media love that kind of stuff. age-specific categories are also very popular. So if your product or service is, something that a grandparent might enjoy, or if it's for little kids, call that out in your pitch because, like, for example, Real Simple does this every year, 20 gifts for teenagers and tweens. So that way, if you can call that out in your pitch beforehand, it's less work for them to be able to think like, okay, where does this product fit into what category? You've already done the work for them. And then there are these sort of enthusiast categories, I want to say. So things like gardening, cooking, traveling, the DIY enthusiast, the sports enthusiast. Those are all things, again, if your product or service fits under those categories, you should call that out. And then finally, this one is increasingly popular, gifts that give back. We all want to feel good about what we're doing. So if a percentage of your sales in December or November go toward a charity or a nonprofit, that will increase your chances of getting into one of these gift guides because a lot of times media outlets are doing these sorts of things. Gifts that do good, gifts that have some charitable bent to it or something like that. And then this one also, I think there's a lot of opportunity here for green gift guides. There are a ton of green websites out there, eco-friendly websites, so if you can slot your product or service under one of these, that would be amazing too. For example, Inhabitat has a just green holiday gift guide last year, so chances are they'll probably have it again this year. Tree Hugger is another big website, and they do gift guides every year. So think about that. And then here, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you find those opportunities. So, I mean, I wish there was, a magic media list that we can just go to year after year after year with, everyone who covers holiday stuff or has a gift guide, but unfortunately, things change all the time. So there is no magic file or silver bullet. You just have to do your research. I mean, I am online all the time, Googling, looking at what websites are covering what. So here's how I would approach it. I would create a media hit list. So that is basically all the outlets that I want to hit with my pitch. And you can research it by local media. That's a great opportunity for you because as a small business, you're already active in your community, and local media are always looking for local stories and local companies. So definitely put your local newspaper, your local websites, your local TV news stations on that list. And then you can broaden out a little bit to category-specific media. So like I said, in the previous example, if you have an eco-friendly product, then you've got all those green websites and environmentally friendly websites out there that should be on your list. And then finally, this is what I did, is I Googled 2011 holiday gift guide to find all those examples we just saw. And you just go through, the first 9 or 10 pages and compile a list of the results that seem relevant to you. So that's how you come up with a media hit list. So once you've got your list of websites and media outlets that you want to hit with your pitch, how do you find the correct journalist, right? Oh, wait, hold on, I went ahead. So before I get to that point, I also wanted to show you guys a couple of tools out there that are free that can connect you with journalists if you want to reach out to specific reporters. Help a Reporter Out, also known as HARO, is extremely popular, and it's, like I said, completely free. And basically what you do is you submit a profile on what your expertise is, and then they will have a database of journalists who are looking for specific experts. So a journalist might have a query, and I'm seeing this all the time. We'll have a journalist saying, hey, I'm putting together a holiday gift guide for new moms. And that will get emailed to you, and if you see that and if you offer a product that is perfect for new moms, you can reach out to that journalist directly. So that's Help a Reporter Out, and I definitely recommend you guys check that out. PitchRate is another one. It's a little bit newer, but it also operates in a similar fashion, and it's also free. I find that their database is not as robust as Help a Reporter Out, but again, I think it's worth checking out because it's free and you've got nothing to lose. Okay, so now back to what I was saying, identifying the right person to pitch. So once you have that list of outlets, how do you know who to pitch? Again, you don't want to send it to, tips at xyz.com or news at xyz.com, because that'll probably end up in some intern's inbox, and he or she's not going to know what to do with it. You want to get to the journalist directly because you want to personalize that pitch. You want to have his or her name on it. So how do you find them? Well, obviously search the website first. A lot of times you'll see that it'll be the same person that wrote the gift guide last year is doing it again this year, so that's always a good call. Search for people who do feature stories. So those are sort of the fluffy, life and style pieces, those sorts of things. Another trick that I use a lot is check out, if you can't find the person's email address, check out the email address conventions for other people on staff. So if for a media outlet you're finding that everyone's email is first name, initial, and then last name at xyz.com, try that and see if it works. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is that it gets sent back to you or bounces back. Again, the features editor is a good person if you can't find a specific reporter, because the features desks are usually the ones who are in charge of gift guides. And if you really can't find anyone, go ahead and call the outlet and see, hey, just ask them who is handling your gift guides this year. I'd love to send them some more information. Here are a few tools for you if you want to find specific journalists' information. Muckrack and PressPass, those are two free tools. And again, if you know the journalist's name, you can go into their database and do a quick search and see if they have the journalist's contact information. It might be an email address, it might be their Twitter account, it might be their LinkedIn profile, but at least it'll give you a good start. The other three down there, Meltwater Group, Vocus, and Cision, those are more enterprise-level contact databases, and they're paid. So you have to, I think it's a few $100s a month. So I don't know if it'd be worth it for you to subscribe to those three if you're just doing holiday gift pitching, but if you're doing PR throughout the year, that might be something to consider. And those three down at the bottom, they're definitely a lot more robust than Muckrack and PressPass. Just something to consider. And then finally, some PR best practices. This is good for not just holiday pitching, but also just general PR pitching, regardless of what season it is and what you're pitching. Again, definitely send a tailored pitch. You don't want it to be, a generic one that doesn't have a name, doesn't have a greeting or anything like that. Make sure your pitch is error-free and factually correct. You want to make sure you dot those I's and cross those T's. Don't say anything that's not true, because these are, again, you're working with journalists here, so their job is to report on what's factually accurate. And if you send them something that's not actually true, then you've just completely blown your relationship with them. Follow up once or twice. If you don't hear anything back from your initial email, go ahead and send it along again. You got to remember, these reporters are super busy and they're getting hundreds and hundreds of pitches a day. So it could be that they didn't see it, or they thought it was an ad, or maybe they just overlooked it. So it's okay to follow up once or twice. And if someone does get back to you and say that they're interested, respond promptly. And the last thing you want to do is leave them hanging. I would recommend responding that same day if you can. If you absolutely cannot, definitely within the 24 hours, because you don't want to lose that opportunity. They've got other folks that they're calling down the list too. So you want to catch that opportunity while it's still hot. These are a few don't do when you're pitching journalists. Don't blast a CC or BCC email. Again, that is super informal. It's like, okay, you're not even going to take the time to write to me individually. I'm like with a whole bunch of other people. That's not cool, and the journalist is not going to respect that. Don't expect a response. And I know that's kind of harsh, but it's part of PR to get rejected all the time. Again, these journalists are super busy. They don't have time to respond to every single email that they get. So if you've emailed them, a couple of times, you've followed up, and you still don't hear back, just let it go. probably means that they're not interested. Don't, pester them daily or, every couple of days. Did you get this? Did you get this? Did you get this? You'll only annoy them. Don't ask them to include extra things in the story. Again, this isn't paid. It's not like you can say, hey, I want you to say this, but I don't want you to say that. You give them the information. They're going to do what they want to do with it and filter it through their lens. Asking them to do extra things is not cool. And definitely don't ask to review the story before it publishes. Again, because this is not an ad. They're not doing this for you. They're doing this for their readers. They're writing about you because they think you're interesting or that their readers will think you're interesting. So just, the more you try to control the message beyond the initial pitch, the more you're going to turn off the reporter. And you don't want to do that because PR is all about relationships. And that's it for this webinar. So good luck with your PR pitching. Get those holiday gift guides. Get your media list in order, and good luck.